like to throw this slide up. 96% of the world's population and 2/3 of the purchasing power is outside of the U.S. 1 in 3 small U.S. businesses avoid exporting for fear of the international unknown. I threw that up there because I'd like to turn that around a little bit and say that most small U.S. businesses today don't dictate their own terms because of the fear of the international unknown. They just don't know. Either they're not experienced, they don't have the people in-house to handle the things that they need to. They're hearing other things from other companies, from their vendors, okay? And they just don't know. All right? Let's talk just a little bit about how we got here. I'm going to talk about why companies are in that position. Well, before we do that, let me ask you some questions. Jackie, do you feel that this applies to your company? Okay. How about International Fiber? You guys have a good feel for dealing internationally? No fear? Okay, good. Michelle?
We always have fear, you know. That's always got to be in the back of your mind that there's going to be an I not dotted or a T not crossed or something.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as international shipments, we're growing.
Okay.
We've got, in December, we've got 80 containers going to Africa. So
Okay.
we are expanding.
Do you feel comfortable with that?
Yes, we do.
Good, good. Carol, Michael?
I don't think Cameron has any fear of international. We do international payment. It's just regular business almost for us.
Good.
We've got offices all over the world. So.
Okay. And see, that's, and you see right here in, this, in our own class here, you know, we have different levels of what happens, okay? And I think, you know, I don't know, how long have you been in Cameron? I mean, have you seen it progress? I mean,
I've been there 2 years and I've seen more international because we've expanded overseas in the past 2 years. The new offices in China and stuff like that to service those customers better.
okay, so you're right on the ground in China.
Oh yeah, we just opened the ground in
Okay.
China this year, so but we've had agreements with companies over there for years.
Okay.
As far back as my boss has been there 26 years.
Good. Now, if you have companies in foreign countries, they're also, you're going to look at our INCOterms. When we talk about INCOterms, you might look at that in a little different way too. Okay? So good. The last slide I want to throw up before we get into, I always like to throw this up. 7 billion people in the world. All right? United States has 312 million. We play, when you look at the whole world economy, all right, we still play a major role with a small population. But things are starting to shift. I belong to an organization that has 135 agents all around the world. And when we get together to meet once every 9 months, everybody's always looking at the United States and saying, why don't you play a bigger role in international? You're still a world superpower, but you're starting not to act it, okay? Even though the population shows that we are a very small piece of the world population, we still hold the top seats in the economy monetary system, government. So we still hold a large influence over the economy, the world economy. What I don't like to hear is that when companies tell me I can't purchase something from Taiwan unless they control it, or we have no choice but to have our vendor dictate our terms. Your customer, the customer won't buy from us unless they dictate terms. The only reason you're even thinking that way is because they're making you think that way. Okay? I'll give you a real good example of something that just happened. Well, a couple of things that just happened. Number one, is everybody aware that China has just added a 6% value-added tax to everything that goes out of China? It started by they were only going to add a 6% value-added tax for any freight that was controlled by a foreign entity. And then that got overturned very quickly by the United States, that now it's 6% on everything. So it's just a value-added tax. But if you know the history of that, they tried to cut out all the decision-making in the rest of the world. Second thing is I've just been involved. We've just purchased, I personally just got involved with a sourcing company that sources products all around the world. And it's been very interesting because now I'm starting to learn the manufacturing side of the business and putting it with the experience that I have in the transportation side. And one thing just came up the other day that was very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of companies go through this. We needed to purchase 6 skids out of Hong Kong. And when I was talking to my business partner about it, and he said, we need to order a full container. And I asked him, I says, why would we order 20 skids when we only need 6? He says, it's cheaper that way because if we ship out LCL, they'll charge us $500 more on top of the LCL rate. So he was figuring that $500, I'll just go ahead and buy more product with it. I can't believe somebody really thinks that way. But that's what he was made to believe. I said, call in the order. Tell them we want to control the freight. We're only going to order 6 skids, and we will control the freight. As soon as we changed the order around, they said, no, that's okay, we'll drop the $500 surcharge. See how quickly that all changed? So I wasn't going to let it go at that. And I said, no, we still want to control the freight. So now instead of letting them take those 6 skids, put it into their warehouse, like I talked about, charge the $500 warehousing fees along with the shipping fees, putting it on board, and then I take possession and responsibility for it. I said, just put it right at your dock, and I'll pick it up right at your dock. What did that do for me?
That means so you didn't have all the warehousing fees.
Okay? I'm controlling my cost, right? But what did it ultimately do for me here in the United States? I now ordered 6 skids of product instead of 20. So I'm reducing my inventory. So not only did I save on my transportation cost, I'm also saving on my inventory cost. And the gentleman that I'm working with looked at me and said, wow, if I could do this all the time, I could probably cut our inventory down by half. Okay? The vendor in China wasn't going to tell him that. The vendor in China had a gun to his head pretty much and said, you will order a full container or else we're going to punish you with these high fees. He didn't know any different. And I'm sure he's not alone. Okay? And as we look at these numbers, and we could either look at this and say, we're at a real disadvantage, or we could look at it and say, there's a real opportunity. Okay? The opportunity will come with knowledge. Questions about that?